What's up, everyone? So right here we have an article why the Kenya Morans lost badly. So this article is by kenyapage.net. I saw this article floating around. I just got the chance to react to it. So the Kenya recently participated in the qualifiers of the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. The Kenya basketball fans rarely get opportunities to watch their team measure themselves against Africa's best. So there were hopes among fans that Kenya could pull off a miracle. However, those hopes were dashed as Kenya put on a miserable performance in the opening leg. They lost to Egypt, to Congo DR, to Senegal with those numbers. They got blown up. In the second leg, Kenya lost by a walkover, and the whole thing, a miserable performance indeed. So much has been said about why the Kenya Morans, Team Kenya, was outmatched. Some have pointed to the disjointed preparations and disorganization that the Kenya Basketball Federation, which among other things led to Kenya forfeiting the match. This is true. Some pointed the departure of Coach Liz Mills, who was replaced by Coach Clifford, despite having done a solid job. She did her best based on the pieces that were around her. I feel like if she had a better roster that could contend, she would be in a better position. Both the reasons above are true, but these are just short-term issues. The real reason Kenya lost miserably, are long-term issues that are more difficult to address. So not only is poor play on the court and preparation a factor, they're not the reason. They're just a reason why we lost. So this article lists lack of structured youth development leading to poor skills. So this is one point. So for all team sports, basketball is the one where a team's performance is very highly dependent on the core skills of the players. The players need to be able to shoot long-range shots, shoot free throws, have good footwork, good reflexes, and good ball handling ability, post moves. Some of the things that are lacking. So this is a proverbial grocery list of some things that the Kenyan brands didn't have. Having players with these skills gives a coach a wider variety of options he can use in the game. And if players are not hitting their shots and free throws, there's not much a coach can do. If the so-called pro players are as skilled as you say, as skilled as they claim to be, I did not see any pro play, and they showed how technically deficient they were. They didn't even know shot selection. They didn't even know how to take care of the ball per possession. They were very reckless with the ball, couldn't take care. I saw Ariel Okar getting snatched away the ball. In the Kenya versus Egypt game, this man, Ariel Okar, he got blocked in a 3 attempt. He's 6'9". He got blocked in a 3 attempt by Gogi Jeng. Okay, he recovered it and had that good assist, but you could see that there's no pro play there. Okay, an argument can be said that, oh, these guys are playing pro and they get paid. But what I say is this: if these players are pro and getting paid, those franchises that have signed them, they're just wasting their money, just a waste of money. Because if this is what they produce, then why do they receive that money? Why? Just a waste. These skills are built by teaching the youth as early as possible and by constant drilling. The legendary Kobe Bryant once said that when he was in high school, he used to wake up 5 a.m. and do 500 jump shots. He did this when he was starting throughout his NBA career. So that's it, man. Training, preparation, it's just short term, but long term, we know where the problems are. Egypt, who thoroughly beat Kenya, is one of the many countries that have a youth development scheme where hundreds of youth with basketball potential are recruited and drilled constantly in basketball skills, such that the time they reach age 18, those skills are already honed and are second nature. So the Egyptian players have been in the youth development schemes since they were 6. For example, Ehab Saleh joined the Sporting Alexandria youth team at the age of 6. He played until the age 17. It was an opportunity to go to the USA to sharpen the basketball skills that he got at high school in Wisconsin, USA. He later played for Texas and A&M University and now plays for the Egyptian League. So There's no quick fix for the lack of skills among Kenyan players. Kenya must start investing in youth development. So this is one thing that is lacking. There's so much in Kenya. There's so much talent acquisition, but there's little to no talent development. And if there is any so-called talent development, they're not teaching the players any basketball IQ. They're just teaching them run and gun. If you look at majority of the basketball that is being played, it's just majority of the time it's just run and gun offense. How quickly can you score on the other end? Once you find a very smart team, an elite team that can take that away, you will lose. A great example is how the Kenya Morans played in the AfroBasket. They showed that, and that is what led to their eventual demise. And in the AfroBasket, the last win that they gathered in a FIBA tournament was against Mali. After that, Kenya has gone winless this year. So it's been rough. So on to the next, no basketball in primary school. So this is another point that is very vital, and actually one of the key factors as to why the Kenyan Morans are not, the Kenyan Morans, not only the Kenyan Morans, but also Kenyan basketball has digressed. Whereas in other countries, the youth start playing basketball at the age of 7. This rarely happens in Kenya. The advantage of starting basketball as early as possible is that basketball is a sport that relies on muscle memory. In essence, your brain has to memorize basketball moves, reflexes, and motion, include shooting motions. Yet the young player is the best that they can memorize that skill. This is like learning a language. The earlier you learn the language, the more it grows onto you. So this is what is lacking. There are videos of the legendary Steph Curry shooting threes well beyond the free throw line when he was around 7 years old, and his father, while his father was playing for the Toronto Raptors. That's why Curry is an efficient long-range shooter. He's been doing it since 7. So unfortunately for Kenya, most players take up basketball when they go to Form 1 at the age of 14 or 15. By this age, it's often too late for muscle memory to kick in. That is why ball handling and shooting skills for Kenyan players are generally below par. And this is true because you could see, even if you can make the argument that you're getting good players in a 254, majority of them learn even bounce a basketball at the age of high school. The culture that the parents have is, oh, just go study, do this, get these grades. When you go to high school, you can do whatever you want. But no, when you get to high school, you have to study. But basketball won't take you anywhere. Just study. When you go to campus, you will still play, but you won't be polished. You can't be the same. You can't be of the same caliber as a player that has come from a high school in the United States, or even a primary school in the United States. They like lower grade. You're not the same. So not the primary school, like a lower grade in level, elementary level. So you're not the same. So Kenya must build more basketball courts in neighborhoods all over Nairobi and other major towns to enable the youth to take up basketball earlier in life. Furthermore, Kenya must begin a project to introduce basketball, to build basketball courts in primary school and introduce primary school competitions all over the major Kenya towns. How awesome will it be if we had such contests? Because right now, as we stand, like, there is no incentive to even let the schools even build basketball courts. They rather buy a bus and just use that bus to rent it. But if they make a basketball court, they can improve youth lives. But that's not seen by the leadership that is there. So again, there's no quick fix. Kenya must start building talent from a young age and wait for several years before the talent matures into good players. Unfortunately, Kenyan officials and fans have no patience. They want the results now. It's like planting crops and expecting a harvest in 2 weeks. So the whole emphasis of this point is, if you don't start basketball at an early age, you're destined not to succeed. And that is something that is being seen even in the biggest stage. You can see even players, you might think that they are pro, but when you look at how they play, I mean, it's just so dismal. So how can youth development and primary schools basketball be funded? So last year, CS Amina Mohammed, who pulled the plug on not even supporting the Kenya Morans to even participate in the FIBA World Cup tournament in July, just about a week ago, revealed that the Sports, Art and Social Development Fund collected $30 billion in 2 years. The fund, whose main source of revenue and proceeds from betting, gaming and lotteries, was established to offer support to sports federations, something that has never been seen by any sports federation. If you ask where that money is, you will never be told. Someone pocketed it. But the sports ministry is misguided and obsessed in hosting tournaments like the World Athletics Championship. Kenyan sports officials must work to convince the sports ministry it's better to invest in long-term success in Kenyan sports instead of spending billions to host a tournament that will only last 5 days. So the lack of vision by the federation and the Ministry of Sports is the reason why we lost in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. That's it. Kenyans must ask themselves, will they rather see the national team do well and qualify for the World Cup every time, or will they rather experience the brief pride and joy of hosting a 5-day tournament that people will soon forget about? So this is a very interesting question. It goes to show you how short-term that the leadership that governs our sports bodies is, and it reflects poorly on them. So other reasons are inactivity of junior tournaments. So this is just another one. There are no junior tournaments that are able to hone the players pretty well. There's lack of experience. I mean, Kenya is often absent on major African competition. Often there's no funding available to compete in qualifiers. As such, Kenya barely participates in the FIBA Africa Championships, where they could gain the experience. Kenya clubs do not compete in FIBA Africa Club Championships or even in the new Basketball Africa League. So often due to incompetence at KBF and the clubs, which is true, because in the KBF, they don't care. They run things haphazardly. This serves to demonstrate, this serves to demotivate the players, many of whom often quit and are not motivated to work harder on their game because of the environment that they're in. So, I mean, just the whole situation. There's lack of vision, corruption, and incompetence in KBF. This is something that the KBF officials keep steering away, and it's the truth. The Sports Act must be amended such that administrative officials must account for all the money that goes into the federation coffers, and administrative offices can only pocket 5% of the money. The remaining 95% should be spent in youth development, building basketball infrastructure, paying players to motivate them, and other initiatives that will make Kenya better at basketball. These are some things that will never happen. They'll take 100% of the money and the player will just play for free. Like, there's no incentive for even the player to play. Sometimes I ask myself, what's the incentive for you to play? Those officials who don't comply must be sent to prison. This is the only way to ensure that the officials do not vie for office just to simply gain for monetary gain or financial gain. So FKF chairman Nick Mwenda was recently charged for corruption. He's not the only corrupt official in Kenya. At times there are so much youth unemployment, youth crimes and drug use. Kenya cannot afford to have corrupt officials to derail the aspirations of Kenyan youth. So I mean, further, such a scheme will encourage officials to seek addition of sources of revenue to compel them to run federations better in order to attract sponsors. So I mean, there's just an inability to tap the foreign legion. I mean, there's just so much corruption. That's another point. But there's so much corruption going in there, and not many people like to talk about it or address it. They try to, keep it behind closed doors. But we know the truth. We know what these people do. We know how they operate. But the problem is we have so many people who are seeing what is going on, and they're willing to keep quiet and just support them. If you're keeping quiet and you're seeing incompetence and impunity and corruption going, then you are aiding in that rot. So that's the whole situation. Inability to tap the foreign legion. The number of players in Egypt, the Egyptian squad were played in the US. Some were born in the US, attended secondary school in the US, are playing in the NCAA. I mean, there is no record. Okay, there have been players who have played in the NCAA in the Kenya Morans team, but I'm yet to see even a player get drafted just recently we saw Wayne Gabriel from South Sudan sign with the Los Angeles Lakers on a two-way contract. He was extended. He is playing. You've got Ishmael Wainwright from Uganda, the Silverbacks. He's playing for the Phoenix Suns, a team that had the best record in the West. I mean, there are so many players who you can see those countries are making leaps. Even their federations are making leaps to make sure that the basketball in their country is way better. But when you look at Kenya, it's just the same old. It's the same old adage. It's the same old system that they've been using, and that's the reason why Kenyan basketball has regressed. Then, last but not least, that the point that I just want to talk about is the lack of incentive to play basketball. Egypt, Senegal, and other countries have found ways to motivate players to pursue basketball as a career. As pointed out above, they provide players opportunity to showcase their skills in junior tournaments, which enables them to showcase their skills to foreign scouts. Once they head overseas, there are plenty of opportunities to play at the collegiate or club level. So Kenya has no such incentives. As a result, many really good basketball players quit by playing basketball after Form 4 because there's no incentive to play. It was not always like this. In the 1970s and 80s, Kenya was decent at basketball, as Ronnie Wino attested. Kenya lost to Egypt in Cairo at the 1991 All-African Games by about 3 points. During this era, Kenyan basketball players were motivated by the possibility of being recruited to play for parastatals such as Posta, KPA, Railways. All the big banks also had teams: Kencom Lions, Barclays Eagles, CBK, and others, all offering employment to good basketball players. This motivated young players to sharpen their skills in order to play for these tournaments and gain employment. So there's a severe lack of incentive for players to play because they just go there, play for free. It's like more of like a scrimmage, and there's no that passion to win and the passion to even play, because the federation has made it in such a way that they is just so mad with corruption to the point where even if you try to make a change and add anything to improve the way basketball is, nothing changes, and change has to come from within, especially KBF, because KBF are the governing body that governs the whole basketball scene in Kenya. Even as all these other leagues, CL, Sukari, all these others, they fall under KBF. So if KBF is rotten, you cannot peel off and create another separate league to try to solve the problem, because the problem is still there. You're just delaying it. So that's my take on it. The lack of incentive to play basketball. If you don't make sports a business, you won't be able to incentivize people to play, or even the players to play for long term. So that's the whole situation. You have to try to make sports a business, not only a sport alone. You have to combine sports and entertainment to make it a business for people. People to come and purchase a ticket to watch, and that money that goes on the ticket sales goes to the revenue that is supposed to be shared to the venue, the KBF, and also the players, so that they can feel appreciated. Regardless, win or lose, they're able to make their money. So lack of incentive in playing basketball, that's one of the reasons one of the reasons that makes a lot of people not pursue or even go into sports, not only basketball, also other sports, because there's a high emphasis on education and getting good grades, until you forget that other nations and other countries are looking at the entertainment business, they're looking at the sports business, and it's actually turning over more money than even a person who has stayed in school and studied. Why is it that the top entertainers and top earners in the whole globe are even billionaires, or athletes, singers, musicians? I've not seen a top earner who is an educated person who is just earning from his education. No, whether you're a businessman, athlete, musician, artist, those are the highest paying avenues. So Kenya has to becoming aware of that many people can be able to make money from their own entertainment and own skill set, and also sporting. So yeah, so those are the comments that I have on my 2 cents on this article. I found it was pretty interesting to watch, considering the fact that this year we've gone winless in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, and it's good to see some people taking the initiative to, you know, call out and actually just give what they make of this whole situation. So this article was published 9th July, just yesterday, and this is the reason why Kenya lost badly. It's not even a matter of them preparing. It's just a simple fact that basketball in Kenya is not established. It's festering, it's rotten, and they're getting away with it because nobody's talking about it. And you try to talk about it, they try to tell you, don't say anything going contrary to that, because if you say it, will be against you. Even if it's the truth, they don't care. So that's the whole situation, and it's pitiful, it's upsetting, and so it's all around depressing, to say the least. And yeah, man, I'm out. I'm gonna see you in the next upload.